with samples they represent so much. It can be just a little noise and just takes you there without any filter and this is wonderful.
That's what I love about using samples, is that you can get a sound which sounds like something, like a thing, and if you hear like something that sounds like a thing of some kind, like not a musical note, like the sound of an object moving or some kind of maybe mechanical thing or whatever it might be, you automatically you think of a place. And I like to use samples where you can't necessarily quite tell what it is. So because you don't know exactly what it is, you're almost is forced to come up with a place, an imaginary place. Works for me, and I think, hopefully for listeners as well, it helps to create a kind of place in the mind that's different for everybody who hears it, hopefully, and then the music can be in that place. And I love that. For me samples are they are almost like an instrument. Or maybe I would call them an instrument, really, to be honest. With this, that's why I like keyboard. You can really create so wonderful, never heard sounds. And you can do exactly the same with samples. I mean, it's not just the noise, that a door banging or a window shutting. No, it's more. And we do this since many years, so we developed, I think, really also a little bit our own language with it, really. And also just, it does bring in kind of things from the world, noise and sometimes just the passing by of sheets of sound in everyday life is part of experience of places and times and things like that. And that's another element I find it creates almost a subconscious context for things, for the music to kind of be in.
And also what I like about this samples is because they do trigger quite quickly, really. I mean, you are in a particular place or it reminds you on something, but it's almost like a smell. Sometimes don't you have like, you smell this, you go through the scene, you smell this, and you get that memory, unfiltered.
I think one of the things that we have in common is that we like to try and take sounds and move them somewhere else. So although we use traditional sounds like piano and acoustic sounds and so forth, we both like to take electric sounds to somewhere a bit new and a bit different. I mean, my guitar sound, obviously, people who know my playing know that I use sounds which are not the normal guitar sound, and I take the guitar somewhere a bit else with using other kinds of technology and things. And you do really the same thing with keyboard sounds. You don't really use traditional keyboards so much as inventing and using new kinds of
different levers, different layers, different velocities, and you can do create out wonderful things. I mean, we use mainly on this album just Omnisphere, which is such a great vast
Spectrasonics atmosphere. It's just the best synth ever
probably
made so far. I think, really. For me, it definitely is.
It's vast. I have to think, and you can really take things in this easy, even for I mean, it's very intuitive.
One of the things that I like to do, and I think you like to do, and that we tried to do on this album, was to get some variety of different feelings going on, so that it's not just like one thing. So things can travel through journeys of not just places and times, but also different feelings. So that there's this humor and sadness and uplifting things, and there's a big variety of different stuff going on.
Like, for example, Night. I mean, that was initially. You've written the song, I mean, the melody and the chords for it, really, and
that's it. And I had a certain feeling about that. That to me, it had a certain, I imagined mist in a kind of valley, and it had a kind of otherworldly, kind of quite strange sort of atmosphere to it, but I didn't know what to do with it. And then you took it from there and took it somewhere really quite different.
Exactly, not really different, but I also had this mist, this eeriness to it, really. And I happened to go to to a certain place in Switzerland with my wife and my friends. We just camped there, and it's an alpine lake, and there's a steep, huge wall in front of it, really, and it's a wonderful place. And the song is actually called Night, and is quite accurate, really, because I mean I had that your ideas of the song in my head, and I thought, okay, where could we take it? And when you sit in the at that lake in the middle of the night, say like 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, or it was even probably later, you hear all noise because it's very quiet, and then you hear in the very distance you hear these birds, and making a noise or singing, and it's reflecting as an echo on that huge steep wall, and it gives and you hear things that you wouldn't normally hear because nobody is really making a noise. And I happen to have friends who do not snore, so that's quite good. And had your ideas, my ideas, and took it from there.
Which is the idea of the whole album, really, isn't it? Of collaborating on every song.
Yes.
Adding both of our ideas and trying to make it into something that's
absolutely.
Like a journey or a cinematic kind of thing.
You can take any of the songs, really. There's a parts of you, parts of me in there, and that's the wonderful thing. That's also why we.
And of course, once the other musicians come in, then they add as much again, really.
Like also the solos. I mean, most of the solos, doesn't matter whether they're. I mean, of these great musicians we are working with, that's why also we have chosen them. Not that way we wanted to work with them, because that's what they are so good at.
Yeah.
They don't just play thousands of notes with no meaning, but they really do tell a story that just catches you within a second.